Sandy's gonna be here, isn't he?
Like I said, or not.
As far as I know.
I'm gonna ask him if he wants to do that.
Yeah, if he's not, I hadn't heard anything.
Okay. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Huh?
Being the Grand Marshal.
Oh, yeah, I thought you meant you were asking about swearing.
Oh, no. I'm gonna ask him about if he wants to do that.
Don't ask him, just tell us.
Hey, let me tell you something. You're the Grand Marshal.
Oh, they sent to read.
Kelly, why don't you do this? Yeah, so? Oh, crap. It is 5:45, isn't it? It is 5:45. I'd like to call the public hearing to order for the proposed amendment of section 11-101 of the municipal zoning code. Thank you for reminding me, Ms. Jackson, of the meeting. Is there anyone here to speak on that tonight? This public hearing will remain open until 6 o'clock.
Oh, is it? You got it? That's right. Never mind. My brain's going to shoot.
They ain't gonna walk across the highway. Well, see, I'm sending this back, because the way Sandy has this, it's just, it's the, wherever it says
Yeah, I wish we could just
and I don't want
do away with it. Just have a hand mic.
So, it just now this one, no, because he's reducing.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Because, well, for one, I think it was just the ones I advised them that.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Commercial access, but he was residential use, not, so just to get it set with what he was up against, because he was already connected to R2, so it's a big deal, but he's actually, he can't do anything above that.
Like you slept a little bit.
So
I'm
it's
sure you
not-
caught up on some.
I think I'm okay today. There's enough light in here today.
It's supposed to be real cold. Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to turn cold pretty quick.
You got your camera? You got your camera? Okay.
Over here,
Okay.
Gerald's.
Kelly. Are they here to get this up?
Huh?
Is that what Beth and them are here for, to get this up?
Probably. The big girl that's talking to Michelle right now is probably is the one that emailed me about it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Tony, how you doing? What you doing? Here's my swan song. This is my swan song. Home stretch. How you doing, Kelly? I know Michelle's doing. Say, Randy. Hey, Jared. Hey, Becky. Hey. Say, Tim.
How you, sir?
I'm doing okay.
Sign it and give it to Kelly.
Busy as a bee. How about you, Steph?
Yes.
Busy as a bee. Well, I'm never slow down. My kid. Oh, really? Where's she been to? Where's she going? Is she went on 2 or 4 years?
She's already done 2 years at this day, so she's 2 years, and actually, she'll only be up this year, because she'll be student teaching the last year.
Oh, really? I hope she'll do well and enjoy it. Hope mama, and hope mama do okay. Put my water up. Hello, Mr. Moon. How you doing today?
Good, buddy. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, look, get some water. Why are you doing? So important. It's not good.
Thank you.
Do you want water ready?
Meeting, and I'll give you a rundown of everything we got. It's just, we have to report for the previous year, even if you have 0.
What's that, training? Should be from Gallenberg.
I think you are, you should be.
Well, I got the Gatlinburg, and I got that in Murfreesboro, with REU.
Sandy's running late.
Is he even gonna come, David?
She said, Sandy's,
Mugshot.
I know.
I know. I haven't heard anything.
We're doing a special call.
got,
Water board.
well, water board won't take long, but I may give a break after that to do the special call for discussion, the requalification of the municipal code. So we might be able to get through this.
Yeah, I know. I get people in there. I just kinda got Shanghai now. I thought, man, it's in that 1,100 people, really.
I know. I'm surprised.
46%.
I don't know how many total percentage for Kingston. There was 1,900.
Yeah, we have
Well, 'cause
more
I
week.
got 1,100, maybe about
That's right.
800. It's 1,900 out of 4,300.
Right.
So that's what, about 25%.
Well, the other guy got in a race right at the last minute, and I knew I was gonna have trouble. And so I just didn't go door to door and stuff. And I should have. I know, people are a little bit
You'll be
challenged.
on your new people. Because I had several come to me. This is the first 4 days of early voting. I wasn't on it. If I'd been there the first 4 days, I probably got
No, Jason would hit me though, and put a lot of money. We'd get the mayor to go Smith.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy. But during debates, he just looked like he was lost. So nobody in the paper didn't do nobody anything. Nothing.
I won't have to.
I know it.
Because I know what I could have done.
No. Yeah. And I needed some down there because of my experience in government versus Jason. Of course, he's on council for 7 years. But I just wanted to share ideas and everything. It just didn't seem like it panned out. Shot the back presentations.
Yeah.
That way I get it back there then.
Yeah, I've got one for the golf team and one for the National American Indian Heritage Month.
Make sure everybody's got their mics on. That'll help me back to back.
Tell them all
I
about
know.
it.
Hey, I need to. Hey, Sarah. In the bag. Hello, hello. Have they? Who's that? I wasn't. Yeah, well, I was here for a while, but you wasn't here. Here. How's that? I'm sorry to hear about this.
I looked at the clock, 7 o'clock. Third one,
Third one, what?
8 years.
They've done this.
Council meeting.
You missed 3?
Well, they just.
I missed 3. But I've been there at 51 at one time.
Yeah.
We ain't fixed the clock, it says 7.
I know. I looked at it. Steffi's always running around. I'm about to call this lady. Is there anyone here wishing to address the public hearing proposed amendment to section 11-1001 of municipal zoning code? Is there anyone here to speak on the public hearing? Not, I declare that public hearing closed. Now I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Kingston Century Club. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Oh my gosh. It's on my mind tonight, I don't know. Let me try again. Can we start all over? All right, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Kingston City Council tonight. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Mr. Brown, would you lead us in invocation? Mr. Griffiths, would you lead us in the pledge of the flag?
Pray with me, please. Our Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you with grateful hearts, thanking you for an opportunity to live in a country that allows us to meet here as a body to make the decisions for the citizens of Kingston. We ask that you be with us, and we appreciate these fine young men and young women that we're going to recognize here tonight. Be with them in their future endeavors, and be with this council as we go forward, and hopefully that all of our minds are set together as to one speed as to how to make the citizens of Kingston a more enjoyable place to live, and a place that we will all be proud of. But most of all, we want to give you thanks for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for our sins, and we will give you praise every day. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Childs.
Present.
Councilmember Griffiths.
Present.
Vice Mayor Humphries.
Present.
Councilmember Stockton.
Present.
Councilmember Wright.
Present.
Mayor Neal.
Present. Do you hear a motion to approve the previous minutes as written?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and second. Do you see any corrections or deletions to the minutes?
No.
Anyone? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the minutes, please.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Childs.
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries.
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton.
Yes.
Councilmember Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Now, I've got a couple of proclamations to issue. So first one I want to issue is I want to ask the golf teams if they'll come up front, please. Alright, so whereas the city of Kingston is the county seat of Roane County, Tennessee, and whereas the city of Kingston wishes to honor the Kingston boys and girls golf teams, and whereas the Kingston boys and girls golf teams are meritorious representing the city of Kingston, hereby set aside number 10 and honor these teams in recognition of accomplishments as follows. The boys finished the season with a record of 50-10-2, the girls with a record of 37-5. Both won a District 3 championship, both won a Region 2 championship. Will Bacon, Bradley Krause, and Kayla Lane all finished in the top 10 in state tournament and received all-state honors. The boys finished the season as the Tennessee Division 1A state champions for the second year in a row and 4th overall, becoming the school with the most championships in Division 1A of all time. The girls finished runner-up for the first time in school history. Change that. Members of the team include Ethan Arnson, Eli Backus, Will Bacon, Alex Chandler, Caden Gurney, Braden Hartup, John Howell, Parker Jones, Will Madusky, Miles Nolans, and Blake Woody. The girls was Bradley Klaus, Katie Lane, Montana Powell, and Brooke Mullins. Head coach was Mike Neal and assistant Landon Harden. Whereas the city of Kingston wishes to thank the boys and girls golf teams for their contribution to the city and for setting an example of excellence for the citizens of Kingston. Therefore, I, Timothy Neal, honorable mayor of the city of Kingston, do hereby proclaim the 10th day of November Kingston Golf Day. All citizens are urged to acknowledge the contribution to our city. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to put in there. Also, Coach Neal was recognized by the TSSAA as the state coach of the year. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Whereas the history and culture of our great nation have been significantly influenced by American Indians and indigenous people, and whereas the contributions of American Indians have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America today, and whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of the rich legacy throughout the United States, whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and recognized expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. Whereas in honor of the National American Indian Heritage Month, community celebrations, as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historical have been planned. Now therefore be resolved, we the city of Kingston, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim November 2022 as National American Indian Heritage Month, and encourage its citizens to observe this month through public programs, ceremonies, and activities. Is there anyone else wishing to speak with the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll go into reports. I'll start with Mr. Griffiths. Do you have anything to report?
No, I talked to Barbara. They're having a meeting tonight, and she said everything's going well with it, and they're just getting prepared for Christmas. Program's coming up.
Ms. Wright, do you have anything?
I do not.
Mr. Brown?
No, sir.
Ms. Stockton?
Well, I'd just like to thank all the veterans in Rome County and Kingston and for all their service. And I know it's a day early, but we wouldn't have an opportunity to say it tomorrow. And just thank you for all their service and sacrifice. That's it.
Mr. Childs, do you have anything to report?
No, sir.
Ms. Humphries?
Just the Park and Rec stuff. As I mentioned last week, we had a really successful Fall Fest. We're still preparing for the Christmas Bazaar. That's going to be the 26th from 11 to 3:30, and the parade on the 28th at 7. And just on a side note, I'd like to give a special thanks to Rockwood Electric, to Kendall Bear, and to Larry Brackett. They have worked really hard to try to get everything ready for the Christmas lights. As y'all know, last year we weren't able to get all the lights up that we bought because there was some stuff needed to be done from REU, but Tim Clark and I met with them a couple months ago, and they've worked really hard to get it all done. So according to Tim, everything's a go, and hopefully if everything's a go with the bucket truck, they're going to start putting them up next week.
The only thing I've reported is, of course, we're having a meeting on Thursday night, instead of Tuesday night because of the election, that Mr. Childs and Ms. Cresswell and Mr. Breadwell were elected to the city council. So we'll look forward to working with them in the next year. All right, that's all I had. Mr. City Manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things here in addition to my written report. Just want to give you an update. We recently put our fire truck up for sale on Gov Deals. That sold. It brought $20,000. So we thought that was pretty good for a nearly 20-year-old truck. But we're happy to have that done. Sold some other things and just went back and looked. Had Kelly pull a report of our sales to date since we started using Gov Deals, and we've sold $335,000 worth of surplus material. That's money that's come back to the city. So I thought that was a pretty impressive number. You saw the email I sent out about the TOSHA findings. We were inspected. They had found findings in Public Works and at the library. I think there were 3 or 4 apiece. Of course, we know that they're always going to find something. Most of them were minor, pretty easy fixes. So I'm going to be meeting with Tim and Barbara next week to get a plan together to get all those resolved so we can report back to TOSHA on that. An update on our ARC grant. We're working through now the various required notifications that we have to send out to some of the Native American tribes and other entities that we're required to notify. They have 30 days minimum to respond, and until that deadline's up, we can't proceed with anything else. So that's where that will be sitting for the next month. Then once that's done, we can start getting into more work. Also on the STP project, get some questions about that. And as you saw in the email the other day, we're in the process of setting up a virtual field review meeting that's required sometime the week of the 12th. We don't know exactly when that will be yet. I've had a couple of you respond back that you want to be included in that. If anyone else does, please let me know. It's be a pretty routine step, but we have to get with TDOT and a whole host of people to get everybody there. Once that's finished, then we can start working toward the notice to proceed on the next phases of that, and looking at that still easily being a spring project. So we'll have everything we need to do over the winter done on that, and I think that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for city manager? Mr. Brown?
When Tosha came in, of course, that's probably, they don't tell us when they're coming. Did they inspect all the places, or they just pick those two?
Those two are the only ones that I know. Usually they'll pick 2 or 3 and go to. So.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 7 is addition of items to the meeting agenda received after the close of the agenda deadline by consent, unanimous consent of all members present.
Mayor Neal,
Mr. Wright, Ms. Wright.
I would like to make a motion for unanimous consent to add as item H under new business, consideration of a request from Chef's Workshop to close Court Street on November 28th from 3 p.m. until the conclusion of the Christmas parade for an additional food truck rally.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the roll to put this on the agenda.
Councilmember Brown? Yes. Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay. I thought I'd done something wrong again.
No, just to clarify, that was a vote to put it on the agenda.
Yes. Under unfinished business, consideration of the second final reading of ordinance 22-1011-01, an ordinance amending section 11-1001 of the municipal zoning code requiring a fee to be charged to an applicant to defray the costs resulting from the filing of the application for the change in the zoning ordinance. Do I hear a motion to pass this on second reading?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Mr. Griffiths. Ms. Wright?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Griffiths?
No.
Council?
When that goes into effect after the
That goes in.
vote
Yes, sir.
tonight?
Yes. Madam Clerk, call the roll on second reading, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Now on to new business. Consideration of the first reading of ordinance 21-11-1001, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Kingston, Tennessee by rezoning property from C1 General Business District to R2 Residential District. Do you hear a motion on this first reading?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Mr. Childs. Ms. Wright, do you have anything?
I just wanted to, for clarification for anyone who is interested, this is the second reading for this. This gentleman wanted a reduction in his zoning. He was attached and close to, or next to the R2 district, so this will reduce his use for that property.
This is the first reading.
This is the first reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
thinking about the workshop. I thought we were on the second. I'm sorry, first reading.
Mr. Childs, anything? No. Madam Clerk, call the roll on first reading, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item B is consideration of first reading of ordinance 22-11-10-02, an ordinance amending sections 11-407 of the municipal zoning code regarding permitted uses and structures within the C1 district of the city of Kingston. Do I have a motion for this first reading?
Mayor, I need to make a motion to send this ordinance back to Planning Commission for further discussion.
Second.
Mr. Attorney, would that not be a table this motion until it's brought back up?
It would, Mayor.
That's what I was thinking. So you're making a mo,
I'm not tabling it.
If-
I'm sending it back to Planning Commission.
If it's tabled, it has to come back at the next meeting.
okay,
If it's just referred back, it can come back
Well,
whenever, but.
okay. Before we-
The more we looked into this, it may be opening up unintended consequences, so we need to discuss it a little bit further.
Okay. So the motion was made, Ms. Wright, to put this back to the planning commission, second, Mr. Brown. You explain what you got, Mr. Brown, do you have anything? Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll to send this back to the planning commission, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item C is consideration of first reading of ordinance 2211-1003, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the city of Kingston, Tennessee for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Do I hear a motion on this first reading?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Griffiths, second Mr. Childs. Mr. Griffiths, do you have anything on this?
No.
Mr. Childs?
No, sir.
Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll on that first reading.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item D is consideration of first reading of ordinance 2211-1004, an ordinance amending the annual budget for the city of Kingston, Tennessee Water and Sewer Fund for the fiscal year 22-23. Do I hear a motion for this first reading?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Childs, second by Ms. Humphries. Mr. Childs, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Ms. Humphries?
No.
Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll on the first reading, please.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item E is consideration of resolution 2211-1001, a resolution prioritizing and approving the initial funding for the state and local physical recovery funds for the American Rescue Plan Act. That's that's APR money. Do you hear a motion for this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Humphries. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Griffiths. Ms. Humphries, you have anything? Mr. Griffiths.
Mayor.
Council?
If I could just
Mr.
clarify, we had to, by ARPA standards, it had to be titled this way, but just to clarify for the record, this was the discussion about the extrication equipment for the fire department. So.
No further discussion. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item F is consideration of resolution 2211-1002, a resolution in support of efforts to prevent the spread of invasive Asian carp into uninvaded waterways.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Wright and second by Ms. Stockton. Ms. Wright?
Yes, as we talked about before, we have passed one of these before in the beginning of this push against Asian carp. This one is specific to the barriers they are wanting to install on dams, and we are requesting that they start on this part of the Tennessee River instead of Kentucky, where they are already invasive in that area.
Kind of like putting the gate up after the horse is
That's
out.
right, that's right.
Ms. Stockton, do you have anything?
I don't. Thank you.
Council? Madam Clerk, call the roll on this resolution, please.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Childs,
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Neal.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item G is consideration to authorize the building official to proceed with the filing of lawsuits regarding properties in violation of city ordinances. I think that's what we talked about last week. Do I hear a motion on this, please?
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Stockton. Do I hear a second?
I'll
Second.
second. Mr. Childs beat me to it.
All right, Mr. Childs, second. Ms. Stockton?
No.
Everything? Mr. Childs?
Yes, sir.
Council?
Do we need to list, there's how many of these, 7?
That's what I was going to mention.
Separately?
I was running out of room to get this agenda on one page, but Mr. Kofer can't be here tonight. He had a personal matter, but these will be the 5 properties that we discussed on Piney Wood and one house on 3rd Street. So it will be specific to those. He said he may have some more that he'll be bringing in later, but this will be specific to those 6 properties. So.
And there's 6 of them.
Yeah, there's 5 on Piney Wood and 1 on 3rd Street.
And just want somebody to come back and look at it and say, well, you didn't do them all, because packet that's, you know, it's a violation, it's a second notice, it's not as big as it looks like it is.
Mhm.
And they've all got different case numbers, so if we could include that in the motion to have all the case numbers that he's got, so it'll be easier.
And three of those will be, requesting orders to demolish. 3 will be for repairs, so.
We get that added to the motion, okay. Any other questions on those? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Item H, need a motion to close Court Street on November 28th, 3 p.m. to the end of the parade for the food truck rally.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Wright, second by Mr. Childs. Ms. Wright, do you need to discuss anything else? with
Yeah,
that?
I just want to clarify, after the success that we've been having the past couple of Wednesday nights with the food truck rally, a lot of citizens approached me and others regarding doing something like this before the Christmas parade and have a gathering place on the courthouse lawn. And the chef's workshop was agreeable, but we thought that the only way to make this work is if we did it on Court Street. So,
Okay. Mr. Childs, do you have anything?
No.
Council? Mr. Brown?
What are we gonna do about the businesses? 3 o'clock, is that a firm deal? I mean, we've got the lawyer's office, we've got the drive-through for the gas company, we've got Hands of Mercy. You know, I asked the same question the last time we closed the streets. If all those people are good, I know they're all gonna be gone by the parade, but that shuts them down from whatever time 3 to 5?
we have spoken to ORUD and Miss Brenda. I don't think we've talked to Hands of Mercy, but
Not yet, we haven't gotten a hold of them.
but the majority of the street have been put on notice. The other building is empty currently and not rented yet, so the only one left would be Hands of Mercy.
And as long as all of them, if you got one that don't like it, then I'm against it. Just because if they've got a delivery, I think before we set it in stone and tell them, that we've gotta make sure we got affirmative from all of them. If they've got a delivery truck coming at 3 o'clock and they can't get in, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And this food truck deal has really exploded. I've been there to every one of them, and it's become a family deal. I've seen the same people there eating as a family, and poor Bruce Robinette, his wife don't cook on Wednesday, so we're there eating. We sat there together and ate, so it has really gone good. I just hate that we started it at the end of the season, and next week's gonna be the last week, so.
Yeah, that was gonna be my comment. It's really gone well, and it's been really accepted by the
They will be
residents.
coming back in the spring.
Oh,
in
I'm sure they
March.
will.
Yes.
Well, I got there at 5:15 Wednesday night and stayed till 6:30, and the Oak Ridge people, the ones that we work with, they were coming in, and I was like, I mean, there was probably 600-700 people came through there. There's a lot of people.
There was an email. Did you all get the email about
Yeah.
how many meals they'd sold and everything?
Mhm.
So that's pretty impressive.
We did speak to Judge McDonald or Judge Hall, excuse me, and the gas company. Both were fine with it. The gas company said they're happy to help to support that, and they'll have the parking lot there that'll be open. But that's not a high traffic day. And Chief Washam, he's on the board of Hands of Mercy, so he might be able to speak to.
I'll talk to them, I'm sure they will not be a problem.
Okay.
The courthouse will be the only issue because of parking.
Well, we already shut down that parking on Wednesdays, and it has not been an issue yet.
Oh, in the courthouse parking lot,
There's not even parking.
No, I mean, are you, what are you talking about, the parking?
for people to park.
Oh, well, I mean,
Well, I mean,
people will
it's-
park where they
where
need to
can.
park.
That's right.
They're going, I think what he's getting at, if they work at the courthouse and they park there, they're not gonna move their vehicle before 30, so what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because generally,
There's liable to be cars sitting in there that we don't know who they are. That's, unless you block it off, and that may be the reason that you block it off. Are they gonna try to start serving at 3 o'clock, or?
Well,
They're gonna start at 4.
they're gonna do their same time, 4 to 7,
Okay.
but that just gives them
Gives them time to
logistically
set up. Okay,
time to
that's-
set
okay.
up, right?
I understand.
That's right.
People out of the way, so.
Yeah.
And
I-
bear in-
That, at first I was confused too, because when I had 3 on there, I was like, wait a minute, it's usually 4 to 7, but go ahead.
But Chief, would you recommend we close it earlier than that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ms.
But
Humphries.
bear in mind, Monday's a big court day, so you might wanna post signs saying that it will be closed at 3 o'clock unless you have somebody in there in court and they get delayed.
Usually probably try.
I think the
It's
big day is
usually out.
Tuesday.
I think, yeah, I think
Is
a
the
big
big day
day.
Tuesday
Everything is
now
Tuesday
instead of
now.
Monday?
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays
We-
are usually.
Yeah, it's
We could go down
Tuesday.
early that morning and put cones
Yeah.
in the parking spots or
If
something.
somebody pulls out, if there's anybody in there, throw a cone.
You've got one
So
job
while,
today.
while we're on this, I have noticed the parking spaces that we no longer allow people to park in. People seem to be parking in them. And another thing that I noticed, and I know everything costs money, but we are in dire need of crosswalks at both of those intersections for Court Street and Third Street. What is that? I always get them confused. Either way, there are 0 crosswalks, and we've done well so far, but it would be great to have some kind of place for people to know where they should walk, because we're not closing traffic. So
And I think it's something we can look into. Tim can take care of that.
I was in a meeting yesterday with Tim and mentioned it to him, and he said he'd take care of it.
okay, good, great.
No further discussion. Like Madam Clerk, call the roll on the closing of Court Street for the food truck.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Childs?
Yes.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Humphries?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Mayor Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
So that's the end of the agenda, so this meeting's adjourned. Let's see if I can get this one right. Now I'm gonna call the regular scheduled meeting of the Kingston Beer Board to order. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Member Brown?
Present.
Member Childs?
Present.
Member Griffiths?
President.
Vice Chair Humphries?
President.
Member Stockton?
Present.
Member Wright?
Present.
Chairman Neal?
Present. Do you hear a motion to approve the previous minutes?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Childs. Any corrections or deletions? I think they've been the same for several months now. Madam Clerk, call the roll on the previous minutes.
Member Brown?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Chair Humphries?
Yes.
Member Stockton?
Yes.
Member Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
That meeting is adjourned. With no new business. Now we'll go into the regular scheduled meeting of the Kingston Water Board. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Member Brown?
Present.
Member Childs?
Present.
Member Griffiths?
President.
Vice Chair Humphries?
President.
Member Stockton?
Present.
Member Wright?
Present.
Chairman Neal?
Present. Do we have a motion to approve the previous minutes as written?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Griffith, second by Ms. Humphries. You see any corrections or deletions to the minutes?
No.
Anyone? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Member Brown?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes.
Member Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Chair Humphries?
Yes.
Member Stockton?
Yes.
Member Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Do we have any citizens wishing to address the water board tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll go right into the utility director's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just or Mr. Chairman, I guess. I always call you Mayor in the wrong meeting. But just a couple quick things in addition to my written report. I get some questions about the project, the sewer extension to Casey's. That's moving along fine. They're in the design and survey phase on that now. So everything is moving. We have a little apprehension about the availability of material, but we have a little time to hopefully try to get that, to find it. But other than that, everything's moving well. And the just a report on the transition. As you all know, we've had a transition at the water plant. That's going well. We're in the process of, or getting ready to start the process of interviewing for 2 positions, one in distribution and one at the plant. But everything, so we're down to 3 operators, but everything's going well. John's doing a great job, so nothing bad to report there. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the utility director? All right, Seeing none, we have two items for business tonight. Consideration of request for extension of sewer services on Ward Road. I have a motion to extend the sewer line.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Childs. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Humphries. Mr. Childs.
Think they deserve to have it put in. They've been paying city taxes and had stuff, a lot of stuff for a period of time it's been there.
Ms. Humphries, you have anything to add?
Agreed.
Members, you have anything?
I need some clarification. Our road list has Ward Lane on it. Is it the same as Ward Road?
Yes, I would say Ward Lane is a typo.
And do we know if all of that road, or how many feet of that road is public or private? On our road list, it has it as 1,200 feet long. I just wanna make sure.
I don't know how to explain it in length, but if you drive it, you can see where the pavement changes. You can see where ours stops, and I think it's about the last house or just before the last house. In fact, I think there was or maybe still a gate there, but you can see where our road stops. It's pretty obvious.
So we won't be, this wouldn't be extending onto a private road?
No, there won't be any, no easements will be required, additional than what we already have.
And do we have any, dedication from people on that road that are gonna hook up to it currently?
They won't have a choice. I mean, they don't have to hook up, but.
Well, I mean, committed to tapping.
I don't know if we do on that one. There aren't that many people. There's 3 or 4 houses
Yeah.
on that
But
street.
nobody's committed to tapping onto that,
The one gentleman
The
come
one.
that was,
just the one.
yeah, and I think he's close to the end of the road.
There's one, the gentleman that made the request, and then I think another one of the homeowners is a family member, a child or something.
That's on his,
Just getting ready to build a
Seven
house.
out there.
So, yeah, possibility of seven new customers that will have all
But once
together.
they have an issue with their, the existing sewer systems, the state's not wanting to,
Yeah, won't allow them to hook back.
won't allow them
It
to.
won't allow
well, I
them to
know
fix
that, but I just, wish we had more people wanting and committing to tapping onto that $12,000 line, $11,000 line. But that's just questions I had.
Mr. Brown?
If the next one passes, we talked about in the work session about this doesn't start tomorrow, the next day, the next day. What's your time frame on this one in your motion?
Well, the reason we put both of them on, and to your point, I mean, if the board wants us to, we can pull that one out and survey the homeowners, whatever you all want us to do. The reason we went ahead and put both of them on here, you raised a good point, and we've seen it with the Casey's project, is the availability of material, also the price going up.
Yeah.
We'd like to go ahead and at least get the material ordered,
And
you know.
if we don't use it on these projects, we'll still have that material for projects if something comes up and we don't do them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the intent certainly to do them when we know there's a need there, but it may be 6-8 months before we even get the material, but at least we can get it ordered. So,
How
Have
close
a
is,
water line already there,
Yes.
all the way up the road?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
on which one? On Ward Road?
Mhm.
Ward Road.
Now, he had to run his own from, I don't remember how many feet it was.
So
'Cause
he's
it-
already paid to run his
He paid
water line.
$3,000 to have his water line, what he was telling us that night, up to his house.
It stops at a certain, wherever it stops, he connected, his house is at the end of the road.
Okay,
So he basically has a long service line
Right.
to tie into us, but.
okay, alrighty.
What other services, I heard you say you pay taxes and he needs it and this kind of stuff. What other services have we not rendered to this this road?
I think
We've
made
done
it.
everything that we called for in the original plan of services.
Even as it currently is, we were abiding.
Correct. The only mistake that happened that was brought to our attention, and it wasn't our mistake, was
Emergency.
an emergency call that was miscoded as not being in the city, but that's been cleared up. But no, everything in the plan of services is being met, so.
And the garbage pickup, I think, was one of the things, but it would have been on the water bill,
Right.
and it wasn't been charged with it, but they didn't have the service either
Yeah, he didn't have service yet.
for the whole period of time they've been there.
So we picked him up on the.
We picked that up recently.
Yes.
And I don't think that was in the plan of, I don't think we had,
Wasn't.
so that wasn't in the plan of service when that was annexed, but.
Any other questions?
So we're gonna put a date on this? I'm just trying to get a pecking order.
Oh.
Is what I'm after. I'm trying to get a pecking order
Well,
that if we're doing this one and we do the next one, we've already committed to one of Casey's.
I would think
Al-
that would be the order.
Al-
Casey's, Ward, and
Our recommendation would be, assuming we don't do it, but I mean, obviously Casey's is moving, we've already committed to that, they're funding it, we're just doing the labor. But as far as these two go, our recommendation would be to do Ridgecrest
yeah, that's
first,
the probably the first one because it picks up more customers.
and
Well, we
we
have
know
the one
there's,
gentleman at Bird's having the problem too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we already ordered the pipe for Casey?
No, we haven't been able to find it yet. That's
Oof.
4,000 some feet of pipe, so they're working
As
on
soon as we found it, I believe I'd be buying it and using an order, whatever $25,000 is, whether it's more or less, and have whatever's left to put some of these others.
Well, that's why we had to do it at RU, because a lot of the equipment and stuff is very hard to get right now, even power poles, I mean, anything, we're having to order.
We've got a big lot to put this on out at its facility.
Can't get it.
We've got stuff that's 9 months to a year out that we can't
Buckle
get.
up.
Yeah, it may take that long to get these supplies.
It really could. It could be a year longer, but, even the suppliers are saying they don't know what they're getting until the trucks come. They're not even promising, the factories aren't promising them X amount, so it's probably not gonna get any better for a little bit, so.
Okay.
But at least we'll have the appropriation, so when we do find it, we can move on.
Okay. Madam Clerk, call the roll for extending the sewer on the Ward Road.
Member Brown?
No.
Member Childs?
Yes,
Member Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Chair Humphries?
Yes.
Member Stockton?
Yes.
Member Wright?
No.
Chairman Neal?
Aye.
5 ayes, 2 nays.
Item 2 is consideration of request for extension of sewer services on West Ridgecrest Drive.
I'll make the motion.
second.
I have a motion by Ms. Wright, second by Mr. Childs. Ms. Wright?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Childs?
Nothing.
Members, anything? Madam Clerk, call the roll for the sewer extension, please.
Member Brown?
Yes.
Member Childs?
Yes,
Member Griffiths?
Yes.
Vice Chair Humphries?
Yes.
Member Stockton?
Yes.
Member Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Neal?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Is there anything else to come before the Water Board tonight? All right, seeing none, this meeting's adjourned. Now, do we want to take a little break before we go into the special call meeting? Or just shoot right to it? All right, here we go. Now we're gonna call a special call workshop of the Kingston City Council to discuss the proposed recodification of the City of Kingston Municipal Code. So I'm gonna turn it over to our esteemed attorney.
And my question would be very simple. What do you all want to know? I have provided you with a revised list of the things that we saw that were changed. And perhaps, in case, maybe I should put it this way. 2 years ago, we started on this project because you're required every 10 years to go through and recodify the ordinances that you have passed over the past 10 years and what was already codified. We went through that. MTAS went through it and made some recommendations of things that were no longer appropriate for the city code, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more in just a minute. The second thing we did was to have the department heads go through and to identify things where it was either not being done the way it was said, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then my staff and I went through and we sent off an initial draft. MTAS sent us an initial draft. We worked on it, sent it back to them. They kept it for, what, Mr. Bowen, about a year. They were having a little trouble getting it typed. They sent this latest draft back to us, and we have it here now. And I have attempted to go through and make the list of the things that have changed. Some of them have been where things have been taken out, and some of them where something has been added in. One of the things that was the chief of police was asking me about tonight, one of the things that was taken out in the process was whether or not there was an auxiliary police function, and you had that in your old code. But that is now addressed in the personnel policy, and so that was taken out here because you have your personnel policy addressing those kind of things. Another thing that the chief brought up was exactly what happened in some of the cases where you had ordinances for small offenses, and one of them that he was asking about was the discharge of firearms within the city. The state has largely taken over a lot of the areas where you all did have some ordinances, but particularly with regard to the firearms, they have pretty much taken that over. There's a statute called reckless endangerment that pretty well covers that, and MTAS recommended we not put our police department in a bad situation where they have to make a judgment, because there are exceptions, for you can discharge it under certain conditions, and it needs to follow state law rather than our city laws. And the city, the actual charge, I think the city officers can still make the charge. It'll just be a charge which would be a criminal offense rather than a violation of an ordinance. So, with that said, you all have got this list. I assume that you have diligently gone through it and read every page of it. Oh my. At any rate, so do you have questions that I can address if you see any? I don't mind going through it title by title and section by section. You've got the time, I do. I can say one other thing, Mayor. There will always be. We have new council people coming on. They're going to inherit the code of ordinances, just like those of you who are still sitting. You're going to have the code of ordinances, whatever they are, the ones you've got right this instant, or the one that's going to be that you're going to say we're going to take all of our ordinances that we've got and we're going to codify them in one book. There will be things. There are always things where you will address and say, okay, this isn't working well, and we need to do something else about it. We tried to cover a lot of those in the water department, for example, which was Title 18. We gave that particular title to the water department and said, is this the way you're doing it? And they came back with suggestions that we have made to change it. So you will have a code of ordinances. They may not always do the things that you all want to do. That's where you get to change them if you want to. So my recommendation is, unless you've got some particular thing, some particular heartburn about a section or a title, that we go on and get MTAS to finish this up so you're not dealing with it for the next 6 or 8 months, sending it back to them and having them retype some pages again and send it back. But if you've, like I said, especially if you've got some heartburn, then we need to do something about that now.
All right, we'll just,
That's all I know.
we'll just start running. Ms. Humphries, do you have anything?
Well, I have a question on the animal control.
Okay?
It says the regulation of cats has been eliminated, so
That-
there's,
And that's correct. And the reason for that, Councilman Humphries, is because one of the things that, and very frankly, this is the problem with remembering too many things. Your mother was the one who wanted to put the cats in there.
I know, I remember that.
You ever tried to catch a cat?
No,
Dogs
but-
we can catch.
But I had one to burst
Cats
my
we-
water pipe under my house.
Cats we can't catch. That's and that was the theory behind that, is that you don't need ordinances that are frankly are unenforceable, and so that's the reason why the cats came out. Go try to catch one.
Anything else on that? Mr. Childs?
I'll pass.
Ms. Stockton?
No.
Mr. Griffiths?
No, you can't say, okay, I know what you're doing.
Ms. Wright?
Honestly, I don't know if I'm fully prepared. What is the?
You're not doing anything yet.
Okay.
You're not, this is a work session. This is for you all to get aware. You're not passing anything. Should you decide you're gonna put something on the agenda for the December meeting, there's a process that you have to go through to adopt it. So you're not doing anything right now except finding out if I can answer questions.
And even in December, if we have questions. we can ask them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
All, yes.
I'm gonna let Mr. Brown speak.
that's why I went around.
I
and-
think he's gonna get out a lot.
Well, I think he's already done a lot of homework on
I
this.
mean, I've done homework on
Yeah.
it, but I'm just gonna wait for that.
Mr. Brown?
Mayor, if I can say one other thing. I said December. Aside from the fact that this thing's gonna get stale in so many different ways, December's, you don't have you're supposed to do it every 10 years, but we have been held up by the pandemic. Nobody's gonna be pushing us, and the only people that would push us right now would be MTS saying,
We've done this work, what have you done with it?
and they're gonna start charging us, what is it, $3 a page to fix something after so, well, we're not in that space right now, so,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
you can,
And not mentioning that Sandy will be gone in December.
small details.
Mr. Brown?
What if I don't have any questions?
I don't believe that's what
Uh,
you said.
yeah.
All right, let me start. Let me start.
You come in here carrying 4 binders, and you no questions.
Pretty good indication.
I found out, after talking to our legal attorney, that this book that we've all got isn't much pumpkin, because it has changed so much.
Right.
And we've not, or at least we've got an update, I haven't gotten it. I found 2 pieces of paper in the back that I had changed in 2 or 3 odds and ends things. But
There is
what
a copy online,
yeah. It's yeah.
a current copy.
But I met with Sandy, talked to him about it, I met with David, and I appreciate all the work that they did, and especially at Sandy's office. You just don't realize, and Sandy, you tell them that I appreciate them. And, if I bring something up, it's not that I think somebody missed something, I just need my back scratched a little bit, and so that I will understand it. Because you know how big I am about passing something that maybe some of us don't read all of it, especially in policies, and then we come back 3 months later, well, I didn't know that was in there. When did we do that? And when we do this, we've done this. Like you said, this is supposed to happen every 10 years, even though we can change it as many times as we want to in that 10 years, but we still gotta send it on. So if you start at the top and just went over it, the first one is, about the elections. That's set forth, we found that in the charter. And by the way, we're not changing the charter at all.
Not at all.
Even though it's in the copy that if you got it electronically, even though it's in there, there's not any changes in it, that was just for reference.
Well, what they wanted to give you was a book that contained everything, and so the original charter, as it has been amended over the years, but no changes were made to the charter in this particular function
Because most of the things in the charter that have to be changed, we've gotta send
to the legislature.
to the legislators.
That's correct.
And then
They
come
get a
back.
vote on them, yep.
So, so anyway, we're talking about boards and commissions, the next thing, and Sandy has explained to me that when we pass this, that all this does away with the book that I have. And that they took things out, for instance, the first one is the Port Southwest Point Commission. We had that commission when we had the Ford. I'm assuming we had to do it because we got federal money and state money, and they said we had to have somebody funnel it all through. We combined that with, the Parks and Recreation Board. And when we did that, we said that somebody had to represent the Fort. Miss Collins is the one who was on the Fort Board that transferred over to the Parks and Rec Board. So whenever we change the membership of the Park Board, we need to bear in mind that somebody's supposed to represent that Fort. But that brings me down to the beautification. It's been added on. The Finance Review Committee, we did that, and we met one time. I was on that committee.
Yeah, I remember.
I met one time, and we've not met any since Dave's been here. So I don't know why, I know why it was established, but we don't need that. But where that gets me to is back in the original one, we still got a tree advisory board. So my question is, why don't we get rid of the tree advisory board also?
Isn't that connected to the tree designation as a tree city?
Yes, yes it
We've
is.
not done anything with it in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think we're still in that process. I think
Oh,
I think it was good for so long, and I could be wrong about that. That's not something I've.
I know the sign out there's got like 5 years on it.
okay.
Again,
I
you know,
just hate to nullify certification we have.
well, that's one of those things that,
Yeah, I don't know
and
either.
Sandy didn't, we didn't know, but if we pass this, it does away with that. So somewhere we just need to make sure that we're voting on what we want to. I don't have any questions about the municipal code, and I don't think any of us will, just because, Sandy's done a real good job with that, and relying on TML to get the stuff out that Judge Hall can't do anymore, or that she never could have done, or that she never has done, and she never will do. So it's just cleaning it up when the officers look at that. The next one I've got questions about, and that's where we're going on about the personnel committee. When we do this and we say personnel, are we including the water and sewer as part of that? So this book that I have here that we worked so long on, every page in this, because since I went back and looked at the numbers, I can't find in the minutes where we've added any policies since this was established.
Yeah, I can't see what the front of the book.
It says, City of Kingston, 2021, Water Department Policy and Procedures.
Correct.
We have added, I think, 1 or 2 policies, fat oil and grease.
Yep, we did that.
Right after that was adopted, I think.
And I may have that when I may have.
And there might be one other one, I've got it in my book, and I think I've
Okay.
sent that out, but.
But this is now gonna be part of the code.
It's referenced. It's not a part of the city code. What it says is, what you talk about in personnel regulations alone. This says that the personnel regulations are adopted as if set out verbatim, and it is that book, but it's not gonna be physically in that, because you're gonna have it as a separate document. Just like the zoning code is not in this book. It's in a separate book.
So that brings me to this book, which is the City of Kingston City Personnel Book.
That one doesn't exist anymore. We replaced that with the personnel policy that we did 2017 that is referenced in this. So,
And we got that electronic.
yeah.
Yes, it's on the website.
Because when I started looking at this, I couldn't find some of the things that Sandy had talked about that was in here. So that answers the whole.
Reviewed all of that too, and we're gonna be bringing that.
Because I had big questions too about, the chief of police auxiliary police officer, which we didn't think when we met last that we had that anymore, and then come to find out for sure, we do have that.
Are you in Title VI now?
I'm just jumping around. Yeah,
Okay.
that could, yeah, reserve office,
Okay.
Title VI, we've done away with it. But I wanna make sure we're not doing away with the
No, it's,
auxiliary police officers.
I
No,
defer to the city manager about that particular
yeah,
issue.
we've had that, we've never lost it, and it's, the reason we took it out of there is because they have that covered in their internal policies. The one that we don't have any of, which is also, I mean, we have the ability, is the volunteer firemen that were also in the original, and we don't have a volunteer fire department anymore, so that's taken out. But the fire department in their internal policies can have they can still have volunteer firemen, it's just not addressed in this document.
Okay,
So.
when you say it's in their internal policy, is that different than the policies of the city of Kingston? Have each department got their own personnel policies?
No, and they're addressed in
Not personnel policies, but they have
operating.
standard operating procedures. The police department has their
Then do we consider those as personnel policies?
They're separate, but
We have
I don't think they,
the 2017.
I don't think it would be personnel
It
stuff
says
in
that-
there.
Well, I'm understanding is that the police department's procedures are not in the 2017 thing. That they've got one, and I think he just said that Willie's
So-
department has got one.
so we have a personnel policy that governs all departments.
Yeah.
And then each different departments have additional policies that they're required to have, that are,
There's difference between personnel policy
And operating
procedural
procedures, yes.
policy.
yes.
And I'm wanting to make sure that it's personnel, so that it's all included. I don't wanna come up in 6 months and somebody challenge the authority of the auxiliary police officer at a ball game on Friday night and find out that we don't really have one. Well, we thought we had one, because it's not in, you see where I'm coming from? I'm just if we're changing it to make everything simplified, then I think we need to get all of these, whatever they've got in departments, and pass it and make it part of the personnel committee, and have something underneath that says policies and procedures and for the police department. Well, if you've got one for the police and fire, you probably got one for
Well,
community center. You
Mi-
probably got
Mr. Brown, if you allow me, Councilman Brown, if you will remember, one of the things that I have sort of harangued about for many years, you got enough gray hair to remember it,
Yes, sir, probably.
is that we need to have available, we've got codes, those are ordinances that you all have passed. And then we have policies, and I think the city manager has worked hard to establish so we have both of those things, policies and procedures. You all can pass policies, you do that all the time on motions. It's not the same as doing an ordinance that goes that is the city law. And I think that's what the city manager has been trying to do with these policies and procedures. Now, whether or not that's the best way to do it, I don't know about that. But that's the reason why it was taken out, was because he is dealing with policies for the departments. He's doing personnel policies, but you all are dealing with the laws of the city.
so to answer your question, and Kelly gave me a good way to describe, to clear up the confusion. Volunteer firemen and police reserves are referenced in our personnel policy. But the procedure, what they have, there's a difference in policy and procedure.
Yes.
We have the personnel policy, the procedures that govern them are internal within their department. So,
We still, because what we do, we're gonna take that book now that you've got, and it's gonna be part of the code.
no, the code
the,
references this book.
references.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
when somebody comes up and wants to know about it, and they look under there,
then
that's.
it will lead them to
they'll get
this.
that.
Yeah,
Correct.
send them to that.
Title IV.
Okay.
But that's for personnel, rules, and regulations. That's what the municipal personnel regulations are.
Because we did away with the personnel advisory board
Correct.
Correct.
as part of personnel, that independent person, that person, somebody else's person.
The old appeals board, basically.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Is that online that I can get in?
Yes.
Alright, that's gonna clear me up. I'll probably defer everything else, I go read that then.
We'll fix it up, take that too.
Huh?
Don't bring it down, we'll fix it up, take that too.
We got a lot of changes we're getting ready to bring that you guys to consider stuff, but, you know, our purpose of putting that together, and we've never had, until we did that, a really good personnel policy. So, you know, we put it together with the thought that it would be an evolving document because things change, regulations change, whatever. So we can bring that to you once a year or so and amend it as we need to. But
And let me say, Councilman Brown, what we took out here in Title IV, of course, you know, if you all want to handle it that way, excuse me just a minute, let me get back here, because we've got the personnel, let me get all the way back to the beginning. See, we had these chapters under municipal personnel: Social Security, Personnel System, Occupational Safety and Health Program, Personnel Advisory Board, and Nepotism Policy. All of those things are literally addressed in the old code, and you were trying to put all of that into the personnel regulations that you passed in 2017, is that correct? And this, among other things, anytime you change this, it's gonna take it's an ordinance, you're gonna have to make 2 readings on each one of them. You wouldn't have to do that on your policy changes.
And that's the reason it makes it so much better.
That's the reason it makes it different anyhow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at, is I don't wanna have to come back 2 months after we pass it and say, well, why didn't we do that one that way too? You know, if there's something that when you read through it that you can find out that we can put it in there, even though they charge us $3 a page, do it now and be done with it, is where I'm coming from. And, then I'll just, since I'm gonna go read that deal there, just one other thing that Stephanie brought up at the workshop was about changing the planning commission. Would that be the time to do all that and roll all this into one deal?
different that's in the zoning ordinance, not the, is where that different.
But it's an ordinance nonetheless, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
it's in zoning.
that's in zoning, planning and zoning.
It's not in this policy. I mean, this, our municipal code.
Well, it's not.
Well, yes, it is it is there in that the planning commission, it talks about the number of members in the code. That's Title 14. And it talks about the number of members and how it was created and so forth, because that's left over from.
Zoning and land use control.
Yeah, but
Which ideally, that section should do just like the personnel policy does. It should point you to the zoning ordinance, because when that was done, I don't even know if we had a separate zoning ordinance. So, you know, I think, and I don't have a vote, but I think that it would be better if that pointed you to the more comprehensive document but.
But you're changing part of it. So you're taking out 103, which is the other powers,
well,
which refers back
that's
to.
why, that was one of the things I was gonna discuss, because I was confused in the notes where it says council may want to consider removing this section. At first, I think you were just talking about section 14-103,
Yeah,
the additional flowers.
Our approach when we started doing this was, where is redundant information and where can we eliminate that? And, you know, if we had something that was covered somewhere else, in this case in greater detail, then let's let that stand alone and just let the municipal code point to that. But again, it's however you want to do it, but it would be
Is
this.
this the only board that's in our municipal code
No.
besides?
No, you have
the existing one?
title, you've got Title II, all the boards and commissions, planning
Oh,
and
because
zoning.
they're adding beautification, that's right.
And see,
Well, you're right.
You got 14101 and 14102 that's gonna stay, and that's creating and establishing the members that shall consist of 10 members. One member shall be the mayor, one shall be a city council person, and da. Talks about.
It also talks about the 8-year term.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. The thing that you brought up, if you're not gonna change 101, that's where most of your things come from, that you wanted to change, was the term and the number.
And again, the advantage to just having that in one place is if we
Because
keep
you're
it,
not changing, because anytime you make a change to it, you're not having to change your municipal code.
correct.
You're just changing your zoning ordinances.
And what's happened over the years is something will get changed in one place and not the other, and then you have conflicting information in two separate documents,
Just like
so,
the personnel.
correct.
Note the personnel, or refer to the
It's-
personnel policy in your municipal code.
Correct, it's
Same
additional,
statement is-
No,
Without
now,
chapter
the
14,
city
you're not
manager and I
planning commission.
disagree a little about this. This particular situation, the zoning code is an ordinance. And so you're gonna have to deal with it in the code book. That's.
If we don't, if we were to do away with 101, 102, we wouldn't have a zoning and planning commission. This is what sets it up.
Well, no,
But-
that's why I was
but
confused. He was
that's-
only asking to delete 14103, not the whole
I
section.
understand that. And then you brought up at the work session
Yep,
that you wanted to change the numbers and the terms.
that's right,
So when I went back and looked at number of terms, that means that you gotta change 14101.
right.
but what I was referring to was let this codify the creation of the zoning ordinance, and then all the things contained therein are in that ordinance. Because again, going back, if you have it in here and we have the zoning ordinance, eventually, sometime in the next 10 years, things are gonna get changed in the zoning ordinance that don't get, but the municipal code is not gonna get changed, and then you're gonna have conflicting information in separate documents. I'm trying to think of the problems when you're not gonna be here to help me solve them, so.
This is the only board that has a separate document. None of the other boards have a directing document like zoning and or planning.
So
commission.
if we had under zoning and land use, we have the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. Could this chapter, could Title 14 not establish the authority of both of those ordinances, and then everything else is just there, like creation and membership, that's covered in the zoning ordinance, so.
Everything else already is in the zoning ordinance, but you still have to zoning ordinance. Every time you change the zoning ordinance itself, you've got these things here, but every time you change the zoning ordinance itself, it's an ordinance. You've got to change it just like any other ordinance. You're correct that this is a reference to this, and you might be able to do something with 101 and 102, but you're still gonna have, it is a standalone code, the zoning and planning commission codes, and so you can't, I don't want you to get the impression that you can do that any way other than doing a new ordinance.
So your recommendation is to settle the board issue right now with this, and while we're doing this? We need to make a decision
So,
before this gets sent.
I'm not making a recommendation about that. That's your all's, you remember, I do law, you do policy.
so my thought, a perfect example of what, and I may not be doing a good job of trying to convey this, but a perfect example of what I'm trying to convey is 14201, where the land use to be governed by the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Okay, but if you back up to 14101, the creation and membership, the creation's fine. That's where it starts. It starts in this document, it goes to next. But my thing is, does the zoning ordinance also has in it the makeup of the planning commission,
Okay, now,
correct?
he's correct about that. If it's in both spots, that's two
Let me
different
check.
ordinances.
Let's see if Mayor Kelly can get it first.
I could be wrong, but I think the creation of the planning commission and the BZA are both in there, but I know the BZA is, but it doesn't need to be in two places, that's my.
And city manager's correct
Yeah,
about that.
chapter one.
So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that it's in two places, and it,
Yep, creation and membership, 11-101.
so since it's in there, we don't need it.
Actually, that is under 1961 code,
That's correct.
and,
She beat you to it.
and then
She
our
found it.
municipal
Thank you.
code has 1991 code. So, David, that's another thing, because we just went through, oh no, we haven't done zoning yet, never mind. So you're correct, David. It is, it is in zoning regulations, very first section.
But it's the same language, I think.
It is.
Well, different years.
My-
One says 91, one says 61.
But the language is the same.
My only thing is the language doesn't have to be in two separate documents.
Yeah,
And he,
it's redundant.
and he's
Yes.
correct about that. I agree.
Because at some point, this ordinance may get changed, and it may not get updated to reflect that in here.
Well-
So depending on where people look, they're gonna find different information.
So do we put there, under creation, membership, C,
I think he wants you to copy.
zoning, ordinance?
I think he wants you to copy
I
chapter
mean, that's
2.
just my thought. I don't have a vote on this.
No,
Yeah,
but
if
it
it's,
makes
stuff,
sense.
but-
But if it's in there, then let's take it out of here and just have it referenced
No,
to it.
yeah, just-
My thought is with 14.201, you don't need chapter 1 because all that is covered under what 14.201 refers you to.
Okay.
But then you have to adopt that to reference in there, like we did the personnel policies.
We can do that.
But
When
then
he
that's
gets-
already
goes back to
done.
my
Okay,
question.
but maybe now I'm not being clear. When you all, what you're going to do sometime in the next year, you all are going to adopt a codification ordinance that says everything that is in this book, this is the way the code is going to read. So if you make changes in it now, then when you adopt that single ordinance, codification is one of the few things that you can do. If you'll recall, we do the same thing with the International Building Code. The building code is this thick. You adopt it by saying, we adopting the International Building Code, and it's in here saying that.
That we do it that way, yeah.
Fire.
Good
I mean,
example.
there's several things we do out
Update,
of
you got new stuff.
Yeah. So,
2018, that's correct.
Yeah.
so that does make, because we do it in so many other sections, because those policies are the guiding documents. It's much easier, I don't wanna say the word easier, it makes more sense to refer to the building code, to the fire code, to the personnel policy, to the zoning ordinances.
But you have adopted those. When you adopt this, when you adopt a change, and the International Building Code is one. You all had it for 2009. Just in the past year or so, we updated it to 2018, and that's in this code now saying that.
Yes.
So-
Okay, back to what brought me looking at that is because what you said last week.
Yes.
You-
I was addressing it in zoning though.
Doesn't make any difference where you're addressing it at.
Okay.
That's another change. It's either gotta be here or there. If we take it out of one, then now's the time to make those changes so that we've got one clean and we don't have to come back 3 months from now and make your change. If it passes, it's gotta pass first.
But that's what he's saying.
Yeah, if
You just referenced the zoning in the section of our municipal code.
so it doesn't have to be changed in
doesn't
two
have to be changed
places, just one place.
But we're changing now, so why not get it all so we got a
That's
clean
what
copy?
we're saying, to add, refer to the
All right,
zoning
okay.
regulations.
Kind of like if you look.
I think we're,
If I may, Mayor.
yes.
So once again, going back to Title 12. Pick up Title 12 there, Councilman Brown.
Title number 12,
Title 12.
building utility.
Yeah. We can use the same kind of language for the zoning code that we do for 12.101.
It's almost like if you looked up something in the encyclopedia and it said C, you know.
Yeah.
Because it is a document that we have to buy and pay god-awful amounts of money for, and to keep it on file. If somebody wants to see what the 2018 International Building Code is, they can come down here to City Hall and read it.
Okay, so what we're basically gonna do on 14 is do what you did on 12 and reference the zoning, and then if we wanna fix that, we can. We can fix that
I think that's what
later.
Councilman Brown is saying, yes.
And that's what I'm saying, is might as well get it all done before we send it back up there, if there's a change, no matter where it's at.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna reference it, and if you reference it today, it's, and again, Councilman Wright is gonna get our votes together, then you can get it passed. So I'm probably arguing against something I shouldn't even do. And then the very last one, and I'll hush, I hope that somewhere in the neighborhood here that we're doing away, and it may be in the charter, I forgot, I made a note of it, and I forgot to look it up, and I just found my note. You don't realize that we still have a code or an ordinance that when it snows, that it's the responsibility of every business owner to clean their sidewalks?
That's not in the charter, I don't think. What you're thinking about is in the charter is, what you're thinking about in the charter is it says if we build a sidewalk, they have to help pay for it.
Yeah.
That was there too.
Yeah.
We just built sidewalks everywhere, nobody gonna pay for it.
When the state of Tennessee did the widening downtown, they were supposed to pay for the sidewalks
Yeah.
according to law, but that didn't happen either, so.
Mayor,
Yes.
city clerk has,
Yes.
Just to let y'all know, even after you pass this convocation, every time that we pass an ordinance, after that, I have to send that to
Mhm.
MTS. And then once a year, they will send us replacement pages
Yeah.
that will reflect
Right.
the new code. It might not have been updated in the past, but I can assure you I will send those out whenever they come in.
Right.
and we're hoping that when we get this new one done and you all get new copies, that everybody will bring their old ones in and let us destroy them, so we don't have.
Well, they will actually send you, if memory serves, they will, once they get this book ready, I think they'll send it to you.
They will, and that's why I said, let's get the old ones, because we have 3 or 4 different versions of it floating
Everywhere.
around somewhere. Hopefully,
Friendship
at that
is
point, we'll all be on the same page with the same document.
Okay. Mr. Brown is feverishly
I'm still trying,
looking for
I'm
the
just
book.
He's
After
trying to
meeting.
find the sidewalk.
Sidewalks, yeah.
Well,
I'm
did you,
done, Mr. Mayor.
did you look under sidewalk, streets and sidewalks, Title 16 by any chance?
I'm looking at the charter first.
Title 16 is all we say about sidewalks.
Cocky in your last days here.
Well, you know, what they gonna do to me? I'm leaving anyhow.
Violation of penalty, I guess they get a violation if they don't clean the sidewalk.
I've never seen it done.
It says it's unlawful to set a fire in the street. Is that any
That's all
help?
that, yeah, that's close to it.
16109.
109, there it is.
And what do you want done with it, Tony?
All I'm saying is we don't do that.
We got lots of ordinances you don't uniformly enforce.
I'll help.
Does anyone else have anything else to discuss for this tonight?
This is sending you back to the drawing board.
All right, seeing that, I
Notice I
want
said
to,
you.
missed it in the council meeting, I wanted to reappoint Sammy Frog to another term in the planning commission. So I get that done now. Last thing, I want to, ask Mr. Griffiths if he has any words of wisdom. I would like to thank him for his, due diligence and his work that he's done here on city council in replacing, Mr. Brackett.
I just want to say it was honored to serve the city of Kingston for 2 years, and it was honored that the Brackett family asked me to fill in for him. It was also that y'all voted me in to have that chance to do it, and I enjoyed working with each and every one of y'all, and hope the new council moves the city forward.
Thank you. Ms. Humphries, I also appreciate your 4 years of service here on the city council.
Thank you. I just want to say that I've been honored to serve on this body and serve the citizens. And I'd like to congratulate everyone that won and wish the council great luck going forward.
Thank you.
I want to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
I want to wish Mr. Pearson a good retirement. You're welcome.
He's not gone yet.
He's getting close when he gets his
All right,
charter done.
is there
he's
anything
leaving.
else? This meeting's adjourned. Whoop.
tonight, we decide.
Yeah, we forgot to do that tonight. Okay.
Kelly?
Is that something that you want to do as an ad hoc committee or a council committee, because they're two different functions?
Yeah, I
So-
think it's, ad hoc committee would,
So that will report back to you, not to
Yes.
council.
well, but yes.
Okay,
But it will still be reporting to the whole council, not just me, but,
okay.
yeah.
We'll report to you and you can report to council.
Yeah, I can do that. All right, yeah,
What guidance are you gonna tell them that they've got to do?
I don't know. I will sit down and talk with Mr. Bowling and see what is the best way to move on that and go that way. Go.
I mean, what I'm getting at is how many people, we increased by one, and then we were gonna vote to close it, if that's what we wanted to do, and we didn't do that either.
We haven't done anything yet, just waiting on guidance on this, so.
Yeah, we'll talk about it and we can get it done 1st of December, I think. I guess I can appoint an ad hoc committee anytime, correct? Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll get Mr. Bowling and we'll figure out which ways it's gonna go with it.
Because I like the committee, because if the committee's got two council people on it, it's all advertised and it's all public, and I don't know if hiring an attorney is, I wish that, you would think that that would be like a, why is that not like an engineering firm, professional service?
Professional service.
So we could talk in private to interview someone.
Just one council member on the committee, then we can meet outside of being a public meeting if there's.
That's what I'm getting at, but, okay.
Okay.
But I was just wondering, you're gonna tell them, we got 5 now? Got 5? And if we keep it open, we could have 7 or 8 and then still come in after the first interview. So, I mean, if you tell them to bring us 2 or 3 or bring them all, that's what I'm interested in, is how many the council's gonna look at when we get down to, I'm ready to hire somebody tonight.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm on your side.
But now, does that mean as long as we don't have anybody hired, you have to stay?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'll get that out. I'll get that out this week, and so we can, or Mr. Bowling can start setting up interviews and discussing stuff.
And don't get me wrong, I don't have, well, the newspaper is not here, I don't have a I don't have a big
No, I don't either.
itch about who it is. I'm just wanting to get somebody on board, because I know that he's fixing to leave, but I know he's not gonna leave us out there on the game plan.
I'm pretty sure he won't. All right. Anything else? All right. Meeting is adjourned.